Hey there, and welcome to my channel, The Paper Bag Investor. Today I want to talk about what I call Tesla versus everybody. Tesla versus NIO, Lucid, Arcimoto, Kandi Technologies, AYRO, and last and also least, Nikola Motors. And I'm going to skip right to the punchline. I'm going to be explaining my thoughts on why I think Tesla is a better buy than any of these companies. Even though it has a much bigger market cap at this point, I still think it's a better buy than any of these other companies I listed or any other electric vehicle maker out there. And there's one key reason why, and I'll be explaining that in this video. So let's get into it. And before I go much further, I just want to make this clear. I am not a financial advisor. None of this is personal financial advice. Not a financial advisor. I'm a guy with a paper bag on his head who loves investing and thinking about the future. And if you love investing and thinking about the future and you enjoy this video and you're getting value out of this video, I really encourage you, hit that subscribe button down below at the bottom there and ultimately become a better investor with me. So let's get to the video. Why is Tesla stock a better investment, even at its lofty evaluation that it's currently at, than all these much smaller electric vehicle manufacturers and builders? And it's true that I very strongly believe that the world is going electric, that lithium-ion batteries are going to get better and better. And that 10 years from now, in 2030, most new car sales are going to be electric, and that will continue to overtake the gas market, vehicle market. So in that sort of thesis, you'd think that all these other smaller electric vehicle makers might be really good investments, better than Tesla, because they have a lot more room to grow than Tesla's already grown a significant amount. But the problem is, while I believe that electric vehicles are the future and that's going to be a massive shift and one of the biggest solutions to climate change, personally, I believe there's going to be an even bigger shift than just going from gas to electric vehicles. And that bigger world-changing shift, change our daily life as we know it, is going to be from electric vehicles that are manually driven to full self-driving. And personally, I really think there's only going to be one full self-driving winner. And by full self-driving, I mean truly the car can drive itself, regulator approved, full self-driving. The car can pick you up, drive on its own. People trust it. It's totally safe. I think there's going to be one company that wins in this area. And I think by a long shot, Tesla really is the only candidate that could do it. And here's why Tesla really is the only candidate in my mind to achieve full self-driving. That's because they have the data behind them and a powerful network effect in their favor. And I've found that a lot of people really do not truly grasp or understand what the significance of a network effect is, especially when you're an investor. So I'm going to just touch on this a little bit. I've touched on it in some of my other videos, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit more here. When I talk about network effects, I basically mean a network of users, and as that network of users grows in size, the value to each user grows exponentially with the number of users. And also, of course, the value to the company that maintains or provides the framework for that network also grows. That value grows exponentially for them as well. So let me give you some examples to really kind of explain this. I think examples are the most powerful way. If you think about Google search, it's almost impossible for another company, even if you had all the money in the world, it's almost impossible for them to make a Google search that's better than Google search. Here's why. Because Google search is the best, everyone in the network that uses Google search, means basically everyone in the world who has internet, who goes on Google and searches for things, they help Google search's algorithms become better. Because depending on what you search for, it helps, and then what you click on and ultimately what website you go to or you spend the time on, that gives a feedback loop to Google, and they can use that data to make their Google search even better and more refined, so you find the information you want very quickly. So even if you had billions and hundreds of billions of dollars, even trillions of dollars, and you wanted to try and build your own competitor to Google search and do it better than Google search, it would be almost impossible to be better than Google search, because you wouldn't have that network of users already using your search engine. And without that network of users using it, you're not able to refine the search engine. It's the same exact idea with Facebook. If you were the only user on Facebook, it would be completely useless. But because everyone you know is on Facebook and they're posting things on Facebook, it makes you go on Facebook and you post things on Facebook, and it keeps everybody still on Facebook. And it'd be really difficult to make an alternative Facebook. And actually, a number of years ago, Google tried to make, what was it called, Google Plus or something, like basically their own social media platform, and it completely failed because there wasn't enough momentum of users using it, so they didn't get that, create that network effect that really took off. There are many examples in the technology world in that field of this network effect being really, really powerful. YouTube's another example. There's so many good creators making lots of YouTube videos because there's lots of people watching YouTube, because there's lots more content, good content being created, then more people keep watching it, etc., etc. If you try to make an alternate YouTube, it'd be almost impossible to overthrow YouTube at this point. Something like email actually works with the network effect as well. If you're the only person in the world with email, it's completely useless, but since everyone you know has email, everyone can send emails back and forth. And I quickly want to bring up another example of network effect was, if you remember back to BlackBerry Messenger. BlackBerry Messenger was a messenger system that was only on BlackBerry, and you could only send it to other BlackBerry users, which made it really great if you had a BlackBerry and everyone else had a BlackBerry you knew, and it kind of helped give incentive to buy a BlackBerry. But the special thing about network effects is if there's really no feedback mechanism from the network to make that whole, the actual service better, then it can quickly crumble. If you think about a BlackBerry Messenger, it's really just a messenger service. The fact that everyone's using it keeps everyone using it and makes people buy more BlackBerries. But everyone in the world, because it's just a software, can quickly get on, say something like iMessage on an iPhone and send messages back and forth, or just send text messages. And it's very easy to overthrow that because there's really not a lot of extra value being sent back in a feedback loop in that kind of network. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that network effects are extremely powerful, and they can create just exponential growth and value. But if they have a feedback loop built into them that makes the product or service continually better, then they're almost unstoppable. And that's basically the point of Google search, and that's the point of YouTube. Those are two really great examples where better and better content keeps being created, which draws more and more people into YouTube, and it just keeps growing. More and more people always use Google as their search engine, so they keeps refining their search algorithms more and more, which makes them better and better. And this brings me back full circle. I know there's a lot of examples about network effect, but this brings me back full circle to full self-driving and why I think Tesla is the only company in the world that will achieve regulator-approved full self-driving. And here's why. It's because Tesla is the only company in the world that has over 1 million vehicles driving around with a full hardware package that could someday become full self-driving. And they have all these users basically pushing the bleeding edge of progress further and further. And these users are basically creating feedback loops that are saying, okay, I'm using the latest and greatest software we have for full self-driving. I'm driving down the road and I see a pothole, so I have to slam on the brakes and swerve around it. Or I see an animal come out and and the camera doesn't recognize it right away, so I have to hit the brakes. And Tesla's will be able to use that. They are using that, and they're going to continually be able to use that data to make the full self-driving better. And really, when you think about it, this is what you need to achieve full self-driving. I mean, regulator-approved full self-driving. A lot of people seem to think that full self-driving is sort of actually like pie in the sky. It may not even really happen. Shout out to Dave Lee on investing. He always says pie in the sky. I love his channel. But a lot of people just think it's sort of this pie in the sky, impossible reality. But I really think it is possible because here's why. It's a very clear and measurable goal that we can iterate towards. And I'm being realistic. It might take a long time to get there. It might take different iterations. You know, where I live in Canada, we might see full self-driving a lot later than maybe what they would see in Phoenix, Arizona, where it's a much more dry, simple kind of climate than the extreme climates we experience where I live. So I'm really I want to be realistic that full self-driving, it might not be everywhere all at once, one perfect solution in the next few years, but it is a measurable goal. It's basically saying that full self-driving can drive better than a very good human driver in all driving situations, in all driving environments. And if you can do that in all different scenarios, in all different environments, and you can prove that, statistically prove that with data, show that, and you trust that, then you've got it, and regulators will approve it, people will trust it, and people will definitely use it. And going back to Tesla versus everybody, Tesla really is the only company that could achieve this because they're the only ones with this huge fleet of vehicles, this exponentially growing fleet of vehicles that's collecting data and is creating a feedback loop back to Tesla to help improve the software. So basically the network effect is that the more people driving their Teslas with their self-driving in mode enabled, they create more feedback loops to Tesla, which allows them to take that data and make the software better, which allows more people to even want to drive with the full self-driving enabled more of the time and more people to want a Tesla. It's a continuous feedback loop that's just growing. And again, I want to acknowledge that there's going to be challenges with it. It might start, I really believe full self-driving will be rolled out in certain areas, jurisdictions, cities, states, probably in the USA first. But the point is that it will be rolled out at least somewhere to start, and then from that jurisdiction, it will continually expand as it's proven in different environments, climates, weather, that it can handle all situations and basically handling all the different weather situations, driving situations that a car might encounter. And I want to explain a little bit further of here's why no one else really might even catch them. It's kind of like the Google search analogy. No one can really build a good search engine because everyone uses Google search and it's really the best search engine. If you think about that with full self-driving, think about how complicated it is to drive a car and to drive really anywhere in the world. You think about how many intersections there are. You just think about the United States, for example, or Canada, or wherever country you live in. Think about how many different weird intersections, even in just the city you live in. There's probably a bunch of funky little weird intersections, different unique signage or lanes or how they merge or adjust. And really, you kind of need a network of vehicles that can find out and discover every little nuance and detail in the landscape and remember that and learn how to drive and navigate those situations, every tiny little possible scenario. That is what you need to get full self-driving. And you not only need that in one sort of static instance in time, but the world continually changes where construction happens, things change, roads change, and you constantly need to be updating that whole interface or map or software. And again, I can't really hammer this point enough that really Tesla is the only company that has potential to really map that out and figure all of those details out and really iron out every little wrinkle that could be there for full self-driving. And if we fast forward into the future, say like 10 years from now, 15 years from now, most of the world is mapped out and there's full self-driving happening everywhere and it's all done by Teslas happening everywhere. Really, then the value of full self-driving, if you don't grasp that, is just incredibly valuable what it will be to whoever achieves it. Just think about all the people in the world. There's something like 1.5 billion cars in the world currently, and they're all being driven maybe 5% of the time, which works out to about an hour a day. So there's something like in the order of magnitude of 1.5 billion hours of time every day just allotted to driving around. It could be even higher than that, but at least that's some number to work with. That's just extremely valuable. If you could just imagine those cars could rather just either drive themselves with no one in them to pick up a passenger and drive them somewhere else and then continue operating rather than being parked. But also all that time that people are spending in the car concentrating and driving, they could be sleeping, working, entertaining themselves, doing whatever they want to do. It just basically unlocks a ridiculous amount of value. And in that kind of, say that happens in 10 years from now, that's the case, or 15 years from now, that's the case. In my mind, it's going to be impossible for any other company to, at that point, catch Tesla. Because essentially what they would have to do is build basically from scratch, manufacture a ton of vehicles, try and convince people to buy the vehicles. And these vehicles, of course, would not be full self-driving. They'd just be like a normal car would be today. And then they need to convince people to buy these vehicles and then drive them like a normal manual car And then basically they'd have to do what Tesla is currently doing and try and iron out all the little kinks and all the little issues that come up with trying to have a full self-driving vehicle. But at that point in time, who the heck would buy any alternate vehicle? Because if you think about it, at that time you wouldn't even, in the future, you won't even need to own a vehicle. You'll just hop in your robo-taxi and drive somewhere else. So who in their right mind would even bother using basically an inferior technology of a manual car? Very few people will do that. It'd be like trying to convince someone to use like Ask Jeeves search engine today, because why would you do that if you have Google available at your fingertips, which of course only reinforces Google's dominance. And that's why I think Tesla is so much more valuable than any other car maker, than even any other electric vehicle maker, because the rest of them are kind of working on, some of them are sort of have full self-driving, some of them kind of have, NIO has Mobileye they're partnered with, so it's sort of like a third company they're working on. But none of these companies have what Tesla has, where they have already over 1 million vehicles they can run full self-driving on, and that number will just keep growing exponentially. And in my mind, Tesla is one of the most innovative companies in the world, so the ability to harness that data and improve the full self-driving capabilities with it, their rate of improvement with the data, I think, will continue to improve. And that kind of in summary is why I think Tesla versus everybody, Tesla wins, and I would still buy more Tesla shares. And this kind of reasoning is what's enabled me to buy Tesla. I bought it, but before I did the 5-to-1 stock split, I bought it at $200 a share, $300 a share, $800 a share, $900 a share, and $1,500 a share, and then recently again at $2,000 a share. Those are all before the 5-to-1 stock split. But that just about wraps up this video, and I really hope that I broke that down and was clear to you, and I hope that argument is really clear of why Tesla, in my mind, even though it has a much bigger market cap than these other electric vehicle automakers, it really still is, I think, it still would be my choice to buy, and I'll probably still be continuing to add shares as I'm able to. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really want to hear from you guys down below in the comments. Does this make sense? Yeah, just if this makes sense, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments. And if it doesn't make sense and there's some reason something I'm missing as an investor, something I really value is trying to understand other people's perspectives and really clearly understand their perspective. And if there's something wrong with my perspective, I want to know. So I really want you to know. Let me know in the comments down below. That's something I really value as an investor, is that I want to find what's actually true, what's truly the truth, and really set my perspective right on that. And be very firm in my beliefs, but also be really willing to consider where I could be wrong, and always sort of double checking what my beliefs are, what my thesis is, and where I could be wrong. So please, if you see something that I'm saying that you totally disagree with, I really want to hear about it in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, whether you liked it, disliked it, if you enjoyed this and found this interesting, I really encourage you, hit that subscribe button down below. I'm going to be making lots more videos like this. And again, if you got value out of this, hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. That really helps me out. I'm just trying to grow my channel, and that really helps me out. So again, thank you so much for watching. This is the Paper Bag Investor signing off, and yeah, have a good day. Cheers.